Welcome back to the deep dive. We're here to cut through the noise and get straight to what matters. It feels like every single organization, doesn't matter how smart or driven they are, runs into this same wall. We all want to improve, we work hard, but somehow we still end up, well, working on the wrong stuff sometimes.
It's a really common feeling, isn't it? And what we've seen again and again is that it usually comes down to losing sight of who you're actually trying to help. We use the word customers, but that's so broad. It could be users, sure, but also students, patients, citizens, even your own colleagues inside the company.
Internal customers.
Exactly. And the minute that connection gets weak or fuzzy, things start to go sideways, alignment suffers, collaboration feels like pulling teeth, and even the big strategic goals seem, well, distant.
Yeah, you end up focusing on just doing things, ticking boxes, shipping feeders, completing tasks, instead of actually making someone's life better in a measurable way. But what if there was a framework, a way to kind of recalibrate that focus? Something to shift attention back to outcomes. These you can actually measure, centered on the customer.
That's exactly where OKRs, objectives, and key results come in. They offer a really powerful way to do that. And for this deep dive, we're really going to focus on one core question that honestly unlocks the whole thing. Who does what by how much?
It sounds simple, maybe deceptively so.
It does, but it's profound. Our mission today is to clear away some of the confusion that sometimes surrounds OKRs. We want to give you a really clear, actionable understanding of how this framework can genuinely transform how you set goals and, crucially, drive real value. This isn't just theory for you. We know you're already thinking about this stuff. It's about practical insights you can use to refine your approach right away.
Okay, so let's dig into that first part. Why do we get stuck working on the wrong things? You said it's losing touch with the customer.
Primarily, yes. And a key part of that is really grasping the difference between output and outcome. It's a distinction we talk about a lot, but it's fundamental.
We often get tangled up in the outputs, don't we?
Absolutely. And output is just, well, it's the thing you make or the action you take. A product, a report, a new policy, a completed project task. It's proof you were busy.
Okay, tangible effort.
Right. But an outcome, that's different. That's the measurable change in customer behavior that actually creates value. It's the impact. The outputs are just how you get there, hopefully.
Hopefully being the key word.
Yeah.
Let's make that concrete. We've got a couple of pretty well-known examples from the materials. Google Glass.
Oh, yeah. Classic example. Technologically brilliant, right. A really impressive output.
Definitely.
But it was a commercial flop. Why? Because at the end of the day, people didn't want to wear it, didn't want to use it. The desired customer outcome, widespread adoption and use just never happened. All that output, zero meaningful outcome.
And then there's the other one, the unlimited vacation policy idea. Sounds great on paper.
Seems like a smart HR output, right? Aimed at improving well-being, reducing burnout.
Yeah, seems logical.
But in lots of places, the result was the opposite. Employees felt they couldn't take time off or took even less. Burnout sometimes increased. The output the policy led to a negative, unintended behavior change. The outcome was the reverse of what was hoped for.
So the big takeaway here for you listening is, if all you're measuring is task completion, if you're only tracking outputs, you honestly have no real idea if you're creating value. You could be incredibly busy, hitting all your milestones, but achieving, well, nothing of consequence for your customers.
And that's the shift OKRs force. They make you define success differently, not by the stuff you build, but by the impact you have, the objective. That's your qualitative, aspirational, time-bound, specific, something like revolutionize the commute experience for city dwellers. Inspiring points the way.
The North Star. And then the key results. This is the sharp end. The measurable, outcome-driven metrics. This is where who does what by how much lives.
Exactly. Let's break that down because it's the absolute core of writing good KRs. Who? Which specific customer or person are you trying to affect? Whose behavior needs to change? Does what? What's the valuable action or behavior you want to see more or less of? By how much? What's the number? The specific, measurable target for that change.
And here's a really crucial point, something that often trips people up when they first encounter OKRs, especially coming from traditional project management. OKRs tell you the problem and what winning looks like, but they deliberately don't tell you how to get there.
That's not a bug, it's a feature. It's designed that way. It forces creativity. It gives teams the space, the autonomy to figure out the best solutions. It avoids prescribing tactics from the top down.
Yeah, it fosters innovation rather than just execution of orders.
Precisely. There's a great story in the source material about a shoe designer named Stuart. He was initially quite skeptical. He thought, OKRs, that's not for me. I design shoes. Customers buy the final product. They don't interact with my sketches. Whose behavior am I changing?
I can see that perspective. It's a common reaction, especially for roles not directly facing the end user.
Totally. But then he had this aha moment. He realized his colleagues were his customers. The brand managers reviewing his designs, the manufacturers making prototypes, the marketing team planning the launch.
Ah, so their behavior was what his work influenced.
Exactly. His designs were inputs for them. It's a perfect illustration of that idea. Everyone has a customer, even if it's an internal one.
So what would his OKR look like then?
Well, his objective might be something like, streamline the design feedback process for faster product iteration this quarter. And the key results. Using our formula, brand managers who provide consolidated design feedback does what, 50% faster per design? By how much? Or the manufacturing team who produces initial physical prototypes does what, 100% faster after design finalization? By how much?
Okay, I see. Those aren't just tasks like send design to brand. They're measurable changes in their behavior. Faster feedback, faster prototyping, outcomes.
Explicit outcome statements focused on his internal customers. It really clicks when you see it that way.
And this connects to a broader point about strategy, too. Often we think of strategy as this big, complex thing only for executives.
Right, locked away in a boardroom. But the definition our sources use is much more accessible. Strategy is an opinionated and coherent approach to addressing an important challenge.
Opinionated and coherent. I like that.
Yeah, and that definition applies everywhere. An individual has a strategy for meeting a tight deadline. A team has a strategy for improving user onboarding. It's not just for the C-suite. OKRs become the practical language you use to articulate and track that strategy.
So how does that strategy connect to the day-to-day work through OKRs? Is there a process?
There is, often framed as the OKR cycle. It's designed for continuous improvement. Typically, it starts with the big picture, annual organizational strategy, and high-level OKRs set by leadership.
Setting the direction.
Exactly. Then, teams cascade from that. They set their own OKRs, making sure they clearly align with and contribute to those higher-level goals. Stage 3 is execution. This is where the teams figure out the how, they run experiments, build things, test hypotheses, all aimed at moving those key results.
The doing part, but focused on the KRs.
Focused on the outcomes defined by the KRs, yes, which flows right into stage 4. Learning. This isn't an afterthought, it's continuous. Research, discovery, analyzing results, understanding why things are or aren't working.
Constantly testing assumptions.
Constantly. And finally, stage 5 is the check-in. Regular rhythmic meetings could be weekly, bi-weekly, monthly to review progress against the KRs, share learnings, identify blockers, and crucially, decide whether to adjust course based on what you've learned.
So it's a loop. Strategize, align, execute, learn, check in, adjust, repeat.
Precisely. It's dynamic. It's built for adaptation.
Which really emphasizes agility, doesn't it? The ability to pivot based on learning.
Absolutely. Agility isn't just about moving fast. It's about being able to change direction effectively when you get new information. It requires an experimental mindset. You treat your plans and ideas not as fixed truths, but as hypotheses. We believe if we do X, it will cause customer Y to do Z. Let's test it.
Like Jeff Bezos' two-way door idea at Amazon. For decisions that are reversible, don't wait for 100% certainty. Make the call with maybe 70% of the info and be ready to course correct quickly if you're wrong.
Exactly, because trying to get 100% certainty often means you move too slowly or the opportunity passes. This experimental approach, making smaller bets, learning, adapting, it lets you create value sooner.
And reduces the risk of those big, catastrophic failures, like building something nobody wants.
Right. You find out sooner if you're heading down the wrong path.
Okay, so let's get really practical now. Writing good objectives and key results. We touched on objectives, inspirational, qualitative, time-bound, specific, no solutions baked in. What about crafting those KRs effectively?
The mantra is, who does what by how much? Always come back to that. To figure out the does what, the valuable behaviors, things like customer journey mapping, are incredibly useful. Think about that donut shop example again. Map the customer's path. They see the shop, they walk in, they look at the options, they choose a donut, maybe add coffee, pay, decide to eat there or leave.
So each step is a potential behavior you could influence.
Potentially, yes. You identify behaviors that signal value creation. Maybe it's increasing the percentage of people who walk past who actually come in, foot traffic conversion, or increasing the average number of items purchased per customer, donut and coffee, or increasing the percentage who choose to sit down, maybe suggesting a better atmosphere.
Okay, so mapping the journey reveals the behaviors to target.
It helps you see the possibilities. And then the absolute golden rule. Key results are always outcomes, never outputs. This is where teams slip up most often.
Give us that Google Glass example again.
Right. Output KR. Manufacture 100,000 Google Glass units. That's just production. Outcome TR. Achieve 10,000 monthly active users of Google Glass. That measures actual customer behavior and value. Big difference.
One measures factory works, the other measures market success.
Precisely. Now, setting the by how much, the numerical target. This can feel tricky. People ask, what's the right number?
Yeah, how do you know what to aim for?
There's rarely a single right answer handed down from above. It's more about finding a good answer. What's ambitious but achievable? What level of change would actually be valuable? This requires conversation. Instead of just picking a number, discuss. If we manage to increase average order value by 5%, is that significant enough to be worth the effort? Or is doubling our trial to paid conversion rate even remotely possible this quarter based on what we know?
So it's a negotiation based on possibility and value.
Exactly. It forces a discussion about priorities and realistic expectations.
And this all feeds into collaboration and alignment, which just seems crucial. OKRs aren't meant to be dictated from on high, are they?
No, that kills motivation and ignores valuable insights from the front lines. It should be a mixed top-down strategic direction setting the context, but bottom-up input defining the specifics of team OKRs and how they'll contribute. Remember that Neo team example. Given a $19 million target out of the blue, it was just demotivating because they had no input and knew it was impossible. That's command and control, not OKRs.
So how do you ensure all these bottom-up OKRs actually connect and support the bigger picture?
That's where the parent OKR idea comes in. Every team's OKR set should clearly link upwards, showing how it contributes to a broader objective at the department or company level. Like a family tree of goals. It ensures coherence.
Makes sense. Keeps everyone pulling roughly in the same direction.
Right. But even with good intentions, there are common pitfalls. We mentioned KRs as task lists. That's a big one. Launch new website is a task, an output. Increase website conversion rate by 15% is an outcome KR.
Another one you mentioned is reverse engineering KRs to fit what you were already planning to do.
Ah, yes. The driving to California but still heading east problem. You basically just relabel your existing to-do list with OKR terminology. It completely misses the point of focusing on outcomes first.
And measuring system behavior instead of customer behavior.
Yeah, subtle but important. Like a retailer setting a KR. Increase percentage of store brand products stocked to 50%. That's internal inventory management. The outcome version is increase the percentage of customer baskets containing at least one store brand product to 50%. That measures customer choice.
Focus on the customer action.
Always. And one last pitfall, especially in cultures where missing targets is punished. Sandbagging. Setting deliberately easy goals you know you can crush.
Making yourself look good by aiming low.
Exactly. It feels safe, but it kills ambition and learning. OKRs should stretch you. Achieving 75–80% of an ambitious KR is often seen as great success because it means you push the boundaries and learn something. Hitting 100% all the time might mean your goals aren't ambitious enough.
Which leads us neatly into the role of leadership and the surrounding culture. It sounds like leaders can make or break an OKR implementation.
Absolutely critical. First off, leaders must start with why. If you're introducing OKRs or championing their use, you have to articulate why. What problem does this solve for us? What does the better future look like? Just rolling it out as the new process breeds cynicism.
You need that buy-in, that shared understanding of the purpose.
You do. And related to that is trust and autonomy. Leaders have to trust their teams to figure out the how. Step back from prescribing solutions. Ask good questions, provide support, but let them own the path to the outcome.
Like Josh's CEO in the source material, who questioned why he bought cheap tablets instead of just telling him he was wrong, prompting the thinking.
Exactly. Guiding, not dictating. And leaders must actively support the learning part of the cycle. That means giving teams time and resources for research, for discovery, for running experiments. It can't just be about execution. Learning needs to be valued.
Which requires psychological safety, right? People won't experiment or admit mistakes if they fear blame.
Foundational. Teams need to feel safe to ask questions, to say, I don't know, to challenge assumptions, even leadership's assumptions, with data, and importantly, to fail safely. Astro Teller's hugs and high fives for failed but informative experiments at Google X is a powerful example. Celebrate the learning, not just the wins. That's how you encourage smart risks.
Leaders also need to model the behavior. Walk the talk.
Hugely important. Leaders are always visible. If they talk about agility but demand rigid plans or talk about learning but punish mistakes, The message is clear. Humility, willingness to admit they are learning too, that's powerful modeling. Like the CEO saying agile is hard, acknowledging the challenge.
Yeah, designing the organization itself matters, breaking down silos.
Yes. OKRs often require cross-functional collaboration to achieve outcomes. If teams are stuck in rigid silos, it's much harder. Designing for collaboration, bringing diverse perspectives together to solve problems is key. Like that pipe-bending machine company, finding a solution by bringing manufacturing, software, and service folks together.
What about middle managers? Their role seems to shift quite a bit.
It really does. They move from being primarily task allocators and progress chasers to being strategic guides for their teams. Their job becomes ensuring team OKRs align upwards, clearing roadblocks, coaching, advocating for resources, and really understanding their team's internal customers and dependencies.
More like coaches and connectors.
Good way to put it. And finally, a really crucial piece of advice from the sources for leaders: try very hard to decouple hitting OKR targets directly from compensation and performance reviews.
That sounds counterintuitive to some, maybe. Rewarding results.
It does, but think about the incentives. If my bonus depends on hitting 100% of my KR target, I'm going to sandbag. I'm going to hide problems. I won't set ambitious goals. Instead, evaluate performance based on the behaviors that lead to good outcomes. Focus, collaboration, learning, customer centricity, ambition and goal setting, transparency about progress and setbacks. Reward the process and the learning, not just the number itself.
Okay, that makes sense. It encourages the right behaviors. Now, what about taking this beyond a single team or pilot? Scaling OKRs across a whole organization sounds daunting.
It is a significant undertaking, and the key is to treat the rollout itself as an experiment. Apply the same principles. Start small, learn, adapt.
Don't try a big bang rollout.
Please don't. Start with pilot teams. De-risk it. Learn what works in your specific context. That UK telco example, starting with 600 people in one division, they learned valuable lessons about needing stronger top-down strategic alignment before expecting effective bottom-up OKRs.
In the Metro AG example, they started with high-performing teams.
Yeah, they deliberately stacked the deck a bit. Pick 6 successful, already agile e-commerce teams. Proved the concept could work there, built momentum in internal case studies, then expanded. Smart way to start.
What else is key for scaling?
Transparency is huge. Avoid the war room approach where the pilot teams are hidden away. Make the experiment visible. Share the goals, the progress, the learnings, the good and the bad. Remember Bob's team working in secret? People were skeptical because they couldn't see the process or the why. Transparency builds trust and allows the whole organization to learn alongside the pilot teams.
Over-communicate.
Definitely. And finally, set expectations. This takes time. Patience and iteration are essential. A full enterprise rollout isn't a 6-month project plan. It's often a multi-year journey, 2, 3, maybe even 5 years. It's a continuous process of adapting and refining.
So it's not a one-time installation, but an ongoing organizational change process.
Exactly. Requiring dedicated champions, maybe coaches, and potentially tools that help reinforce outcome thinking, not just task tracking.
Okay, so let's bring it all together. We've covered a lot of ground.
We have. But it keeps coming back to that core idea, doesn't it?
It really does.
Yeah.
At its heart, the OKR framework, all the cycles and practices,
So here's a final thought for you, something to take away and consider. We talked about agility, the ability to learn and adapt being maybe the most critical skill in today's world. So the question isn't just, will you use OKRs, but how will you embed that who does what by how much mindset deep into your work? How will you use it not just to hit targets, but to genuinely understand your customers better, to foster that continuous learning, and ultimately to create real, undeniable value? Because maybe the journey to getting better isn't about having all the answers up front, but about getting really good at asking the right questions over and over again.